Welcome to Fearless with Jason Whitlock. I'm Jason Whitlock, your host. Happy day before Thanksgiving. Happy Wednesday. So glad that you're here. We have so much to be thankful for. And man, oh man, I can't wait to get into today's show. Before we do that, though, I do want to ask you to go to fearlessmission.com. Use the promo code FEARLESS40. You can save $40 on your yearly subscription to support all things Fearless related, all things Blaze related. Really, really need you to do that. Today's episode, which is going to be fantastic, it's brought to you by our good friends at First Cup Coffee, a Christian-owned patriot coffee company that stands for core values, family, and building community across the nation. First Cup's freshly roasted beans are delivered in ground or whole bean, pods, and bulk. Go to firstcup.com and use the promo code FEARLESS and save an additional 10% on your order. And if you subscribe, save another 10% for the life of your subscription. I can't wait to unpack today's show for you. We're going to talk about what we all have to be thankful for, including, I'm just kidding here, but including what Oklahoma State is going to do in just 2 days, the day after Thanksgiving, when they save me, when they come in and beat Colorado. It's been Oklahoma State week all week here at Fearless. But today, we're going to pivot and talk about something I think that's fun, something that's optimistic, something that allows us to look back and look ahead. Because we are at the end of the woke era. The era in woke sports. It is all tumbling and crashing down. The Washington Redskins are about to reignite and reintroduce the Redskins logo. Have you heard this story? The Commanders are about to use the Redskins logo again. This is phenomenal. I can't believe it. And I think today, or this announcement, or what's transpiring, what is it? How many days are we now? 22 days after the election of Donald Trump, we have the official end of the woke sports era and the woke sports movement. And it all comes full circle. The Washington Redskins are going to be the Washington Redskins again. The Blackfeet chief and the people in Montana that it was all honoring are all in support of establishing the Redskins logo. There's even talk now that the Commanders may revert back to their name, the Redskins. Remember, there was like a 25-year movement by the left. Oh, we have to remove the Redskins. This is so traumatizing. And it's all the symbolism. And this is like the alpha of the woke movement in professional football, the 30-year fight to remove the Redskins logo that accomplished nothing, that was stupid from the jump. And I have to admit, there was a time when I got caught up in the woke movement and just kind of went along to get along. And I can remember a very good former friend of mine, Mike Wise, who wrote at the Washington Post and at the New York Times, he was kind of the media leader of the push for the Redskins to drop their name. Mike Wise is a, white guy that was more offended than the actual Indians were, and decided that, the Redskins ending this name was just going to make America great again and was going to improve America. And it didn't do any of that. But at the time, I wasn't offended by the movement, halfway kind of supported it. I had a little bit of the woke mind virus. But to live long enough to see this come to an end, hallelujah. And so that made me and us and the team think about, well, if this is the end, what was the beginning? and this era we've been in where woke has been in control of sports. And so we started just going to, what are the wokest moments in sports over these last over this last decade? Because now, tomorrow's Thanksgiving, and I'm going to be giving thanks to the end of this era. Thanks, Indians. You get that play on words, Indians? Yeah. You see that?
END.
Yes, END. Thanks, Indians. The Indians have ended wokeness in sports. The Washington Commanders get their name and logo back. Sports fans can, maybe the Cleveland Indians, the Cleveland Guardians can get their name back. Maybe we can quit acting like when FSU fans do the tomahawk chop, Chiefs fans do the tomahawk
Braves.
chop. Yeah, we can quit pretending like, oh my God, we're re-violating the Native Americans. Sanity is returning to the sports world. What's next? And so and we'll bring Steve Kim in at some point, but I just wanted to walk you guys through the woke era and the lowlights. And I think we ended up coming up, I wanted to stop at 10, but eventually we got to about 12 of these things that are the wokest moments in sports. And no, I'm actually going to try to go in chronological order like I asked for. And I am thankful that today is Wednesday and we get into a long weekend. I want to thank myself for that. And so I want to go to the beginning of this. And I believe, and you guys help me out, correct me if I'm wrong, hit me over text if I'm wrong, and get these things out of order. I apologize that I'm doing this off memory more than I am off of preparation. That's on me. But my understanding of the beginning is Trayvon Martin. And I believe Trayvon Martin happened in 2012. Yes. Trayvon Martin, I believe, was in 2012. And the Miami Heat, if you remember, Trayvon Martin is the kid that beat up George Zimmerman, was pounding George Zimmerman's head into the pavement, and George Zimmerman shot him to save his own life. You guys remember that? And look, was George Zimmerman potentially out of line for playing cop and disobeying what the police say, stand down, don't go looking for this kid? Perhaps. But did he deserve to get his head beaten into the ground by Trayvon Martin? And was he justified in shooting Trayvon Martin in self-defense? Absolutely. And was Trayvon Martin not who they said he was? Trayvon Martin was a thug, for lack of a better description. That is accurate. And again, I've explained to you on this show, we had Joel Gilbert who did the documentary exposing like the Rachel Gentile or whoever the fake witness was. But anyway, in 2012, I believe, the Miami Heat, led by LeBron James, they all donned hoodies and took a picture in support of Trayvon Martin. That was the beginning of the woke era in sports. And let me go ahead and be completely transparent. I actually played a role in this. Again, you want to talk about the woke era in sports? Jason Whitlock, I'm raising my hand and said I was involved. Let me explain how. At that time in 2012, I was still friendly with LeBron James and his camp, or particularly LeBron James's camp, Maverick Carter, those guys, Rich Paul, still friendly with them. And so I bought the original Trayvon Martin hoax. That this was a great little kid that was out helping old ladies cross the street, and George Zimmerman just happened upon him and just shot him in cold blood. I fell for the hoax. And I remember calling Maverick Carter. I was like, hey man, this kid is from South Florida, this happened in Florida. I think LeBron and the Heat should wear hoodies and take a picture. in symbolic support of Trayvon Martin. 2, 3, 4 days later, they did it. It happened. I can't say for sure Maverick Carter said, hey man, blah, 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 LeBron, you should do this. But it happened. And when I expressed the idea to Maverick Carter, it was an original idea. It wasn't something Maverick said, yeah, we were thinking about doing that. Yeah, maybe I had no influence, but I tend to think I had some influence. So I'm pleading guilty to my role in the beginning of the woke era in sports. And so this was the alpha. This started the woke era in sports. LeBron James and the Miami Heat donning hoodies for the Trayvon Martin hoax. Then it was Michael Brown. Remember Michael Brown? He piggybacked off the Trayvon Martin movement. And Michael Brown was, let me go ahead and plead guilty here. I originally fell for the Michael Brown hoax. I've already told you all, remember Sean King, the little half-white, or not half-white, full-blown white guy that pretends to be black and pretends to be the we call him Martin Luther King? Well, I gave money to the Michael Brown deal to help Michael Brown's mother go speak somewhere overseas or whatever. I got hoodwinked out a couple $1,000 supporting the Michael Brown hoax. Well, the St. Louis Rams then jumped on board. And they went full-blown hands up, don't shoot. You guys remember that? When the St. Louis Rams took the field, hands up, don't shoot. This would be a good time to take there we go. Everybody pay attention. I know it's almost Thanksgiving, but listen to me and follow the show. But the Rams went full-blown, hands up, don't shoot, took the field before the game. Because, little Michael Brown, of course, he too was off somewhere helping old ladies cross the street when the police happened upon him as he was robbing a convenience store or bullying some Asian guy or some white guy in some convenience store. Then the police inappropriately hunted him down and shot and killed him. Remember Darren Wilson? He was the worst police officer since Vic Mackey and The Shield, or since, whatever criminal, since Denzel Washington's character in Training Day. Why can't Alonzo Washington? Is that Denzel Washington? But anyway, the St. Louis Rams jumped on board with hands up, don't shoot, ignoring the facts, which we all later found out was that his hands weren't up, and he was charging at the police officer after trying to take Darren Wilson's gun from him. Not smart after you knock off a convenience store to then try to take a gun from a police officer. That will tend to get you shot, and that's what happened to Michael Brown. Alonzo Harris is who I'm thinking of. Darren Wilson was worse than that. And then Colin Kaepernick in 2016 sets off something in the National Football League and across sports where he's taking a knee. And this all came to a culmination, I believe, in 2017 when there was so much momentum behind Colin Kaepernick and taking a knee that the entire National Football League, I believe in 2000, including Jerry Jones, all the ownership, they all went out to midfield and took a knee. Y'all know I love Ray Lewis. Even Ray Lewis, they got Ray Lewis caught up in this. Colin Kaepernick was riding a wave. He's not the alpha. As I told you, the Miami Heat, LeBron James, Trayvon Martin, that's the alpha. Michael Brown built the momentum. Colin Kaepernick comes in and piggybacks off of that. You guys know Colin Kaepernick, mute Muhammad Ali, the Muhammad Ali who never talks, the African-American social justice warrior, raised by white people but hates white people, dates an Egyptian white woman but hates white people. Y'all know Colin Kaepernick put a hot comb through his hair and grew out this big afro, then started getting his hair braided up. You know, Colin Kaepernick, the realist. He's a real one. That Colin Kaepernick. And that's when things really, really, really started to accelerate. And this is one of my favorite moments because I think it so speaks to the entire woke era and what it was really about. And it was about this mentality that has overtaken America, that everybody has their own truth, that there is no truth, there's just opinions. And everybody's lived experiences must be recognized. And whatever people think should be is what is. And so in 2019, this era of wokeness had so overtaken sports, and we were so into tearing down the patriarchy, tearing down men, and women are just like men. That, and I love this guy. I really do. I don't want you to think I'm bad-mouthing Jim Nantz. But I can remember sitting there in 2019 and Jim Nantz, one of the greatest broadcasters in the world, I'm watching football and I hear Jim Nantz's voice on a Toyota commercial. And he's telling this incredible story about this sweet little black girl, Antoinette Harris. No relation to Alonzo Harris from Training Day, not related. But he's telling this story about Antoinette Harris, Toni, T-O-N-I, Toni in quote, Toni Harris. She's a football player, and she's earned a football scholarship. I think we got a part, we got parts of this commercial, but Toni, this blew my mind. This to me is one of the biggest moments in woke sports history. They put a national television commercial that ran during NFL games. I believe it ran during the Super Bowl as well that year. That little Toni Harris had earned a football scholarship. Play the commercial.
They've said a lot of things about Toni Harris. They said she was too slow, too weak. They said she'd never get to the next level. Yeah, people have made a lot of assumptions about Toni.
But I've never been a big fan of assumptions.
And neither have we. Introducing the hybrid that will shatter perceptions. The Built for Speed RAV4 Hybrid. Toyota, let's go places.
That little girl, who I believe is like 5'5", 140 pounds. They created a story that she earned a football scholarship somewhere, some small, tiny college in California, I believe, and that she played. And then me, being the idiot journalist that I am, I was like, is this true? Really? This little girl earned a football scholarship? So I started sniffing around and doing research. Found out she was from Detroit and had been on her high school football team where she played one play. On a kickoff or a punt or something like that. They stuck her out there for one play. And she earned a football scholarship off of one play in high school.
Ceremonial one play.
Yes. And I was like, in what world can you get a football scholarship off of one play in high school in Detroit? In this make-believe world that woke sports has created, that the world has created. That if you can just speak anything into existence, and they can hire or pay or prop up someone like Toni Harris and pretend like she's a college football player. This is unbelievable. This is why Stephen A. Smith was so comfortable writing the book that he wrote and telling lies. But I hit 17 straight shots and Big House Gaines gave me a scholarship on the spot. I got a 6-inch screw in my knee. I broke my kneecap in half. I wasn't supposed to walk again. This is how you can tell these lies. This 5'9" Gary Stevens, he was my 6'3" teammate at Winston-Salem State. This is how you can tell these lies. Because we've made a national television commercial featuring Jim Nantz promoting buying a car, a major car dealer, told a lie that Toni Harris was a college football player who earned a scholarship. This woman ran like a 6'40", and she was allegedly a DB. When I go through this, it's hard to top this one for me. It's really hard. And there's worse stuff on here, maybe, but it's really hard to top this. They took a tiny little black girl and turned her into Ed Reed. Are you kidding me? They turned her into Paul Krause. They turned her into Ronnie Lott. They turned her into Troy Polamalu. A little tiny girl that played one play in high school. A gimmick play. A Make-A-Wish kid play. She got a football scholarship. If you want to understand this era we've been living in, I think you can see it all through the Toni Harris story. There should be a documentary about the lies told and the people involved with selling the Toni Harris myth. And I was the only person, I kept bringing it up like, they're running this commercial, this is crazy. No one else is going like, I can't believe this is happening. Everybody else just kind of, yeah, this is normal, or it's not a big deal. It was a very big deal to me. So, after that, we move into 2020, and holy cow, George Floyd happened. And then Jacob Blake happened. And people just lost their minds. It was the summer of St. George Floyd. It was the summer of Jacob Blake. What was it, Rayshard, somebody down in Atlanta, I forget his name, argued, fighting with the cops, tried to take a gun from the cops, then tried to run away, got shot. But Jacob Blake pulled a knife on cops, resisted arrest, brought the cops back to his car with his kids in the back seat, had been bothering, harassing, violating a restraining order on his baby mama who he had sexually violated. And Jacob Blake got capped. Not killed, he just got capped. The cops put some bullets in him, basically paralyzing him. And, I hope God is with this man and, maybe one day he'll recover. I hope he's happy and found peace. He's not dead. But he was a criminal who brought all these problems upon himself. And the Milwaukee Bucks said, we ain't playing basketball no more. The Milwaukee Bucks, they're down there in the bubble. And they say, nah, can't do it. We're not playing basketball because Jacob Blake, a criminal who had sexually violated a woman, who pulled a knife on the cops, who brought the cops. Again, your number one job as a man, protect your women and children. He brought the cops and all that drama to his car with his kids sitting in the back seat, violated every command of a man. And the Milwaukee Bucks and the NBA and everybody involved with the NBA said, this is a bridge too far. We can't play. We're so distraught over Jacob Blake. We can't play. Here's Doc Rivers, who was not the coach of the Milwaukee Bucks then. I think he was coach of the Clippers at this point. Here's Doc Rivers with his emotional response to Jacob Blake.
Convention, and they're spewing this fear, right? Like, all you hear is Donald Trump and all of them talking about fear. We're the ones getting killed. We're the ones getting shot. We're the ones that we're denied to live in certain communities. We've been hung, we've been shot, and all you do is keep hearing about fear. It's amazing to me why we keep loving this country and this country does not love us back.
So those cops, according to Doc Rivers, and I don't know what kind of dirt they got on Doc Rivers. I don't know if he's got a summer home at Epstein Island. I don't know what they have on him. But what a performance he put on. But he's arguing that those cops that came to protect a woman who had called the police because a man that had previously sexually violated her showed up at her house, that those cops came and said, oh, God, these Negroes don't love America, and I'm going to shoot Jacob Blake because we don't love these Negroes. That the actions of those cops and the actions of Jacob Blake are this grand testimony about how America feels about black people. This is lunacy and idiocy, and it was rampant. There's so many examples of just idiocy that was widespread in the summer of George Floyd, the summer of Jacob Blake, the summer of every criminal that resisted arrest and got punched or shot or dead because of the police. We put them all on Mount Rushmore, and everybody went into cosplay, and Doc Rivers acted like, oh, I was just going to have lunch with Jacob Blake. And they shot and killed him. We'll have to cancel that lunch. He was going to date my daughter. All this cosplay. Rampant throughout sports. The NFL hopped in on it. Obviously, they were already in on it. But I'll never forget the Pittsburgh Steelers, I believe, in September of 2020, just a month after the Milwaukee Bucks shut down the NBA. Remember the NFL, all the NFL teams were so into George Floyd. They were putting George Floyd's name on the back of their helmets. They were putting, anybody that they thought got mistreated by the police, any resisting criminal who got mistreated by the police, the NFL teams were putting their names on the back of their helmets. And the Pittsburgh Steelers put Antwon Rose Jr. on the back of their helmet. Antwon had been involved in a drive-by shooting. He was the trigger man, I believe, in a drive-by shooting. Police are hunting him down. He's got a criminal past. He's an idiot. And they end up shooting and killing Antwon Rose. But the Steelers put the trigger man in a drive-by shooting on the back of their helmet. They, from what my understanding of the Steelers at this time, they were in a knockdown, drag-out debate within the locker room. Should we put OJ on here or should we put Antwon Rose? And it was a photo finish debate vote where they said, yeah, let's go with Antwon Rose. They almost, there were some white racists in the organization that wanted to put Jeffrey Dahmer's name on the back of their helmet, but they were voted down. I'm almost shocked they didn't put Adolf Hitler on the back of their helmet. I'm sure they thought about it, but they settled on Antwon Rose. And I remember writing about this and talking about that. This is crazy. Cut it out, guys. You're making fools of yourselves. This Elon calls it the woke mind virus, and it is the woke mind virus. And it's still a problem, but we're at the end of an era. It's coming to an end, and hopefully what's happening in sports is going to affect the rest of American society. It has to. It has to, because I was in a conversation with someone, because people are still believing the fake news media and all these. Someone the other day told me, they voted against Trump to protect democracy. And I was like, oh. I just wanted to cry and just say, please turn off the TV. Please. Democracy wasn't on the ballot. I know they told you that. And again, the sports world plays a big role in this propaganda campaign of demonizing America and demonizing conservative values and convincing people to be idiots. And so the next big thing on my list after the Steelers and that whole 2020 season was, I believe it was in February of 2022, that the Redskins abandoned their name and took on the name of the Commanders. They folded. And again, they were involved in like a 30, 40-year fight about their name, and they finally folded. This woke era in sports just finally, Dan Snyder had to raise the white flag, trying to hold on to owning the team, and they've been after him, and so he finally folded. I think that's in February. And then here's one that's got to be one of the greatest moments in woke sports history. I believe, this is May of 2022. There's a dude named Bill Thomas who's a mediocre swimmer in the Ivy League. He changes his name to Leah. Still a mediocre swimmer in the Ivy League, but now he's competing against women. And he becomes an NCAA record holder and champ. And people act like this is, he still has that medal. They were allowing him on platforms standing next to other women. He's taking accomplishments from women, and we were calling this progress. A man stealing accomplishments from women, the left is calling this progress. This man has a bat and balls still attached. He's showering with women. We had seen him previously compete with men and be mediocre. And then he switches teams, switches names, and the next thing you know, we're calling him Leah, and we're all supposed to pretend that because he said it, because he said, I'm a woman, we're supposed to believe he's a woman, that being a woman is a state of mind. And Leah Thomas is why I think what went on with Toni Harris is so important. Toni Harris set the standard that, hey, if you just say it happens, everybody has to accept it happens. It doesn't need to be based in facts. If we can just say, hey, this is a woman, she got a football scholarship, you don't have to offer any evidence or proof. Toyota, Jim Nantz will tape a commercial, and we'll just run out here and pretend like Toni Harris is a football player and received a college football scholarship. That's how, those are the slippery slope you go down to where you get to, and Bill Thomas says, hey, my name's Leah, I'm a woman, I got a bat and balls, I'm gonna go shower and swim with women, and the NCAA is going to allow it, I'm gonna medal, I'm going to steal accomplishments from women, and we're gonna call it progress. Holy cow. Holy cow. So we're all locked in on just everything woke is good, anything that argues that America is racist and unfair is good. And that's how you end up in August of 2022 with Stephen A. Smith and Don Staley crucifying Brigham Young University. That's how you end up with Rachel Richardson, the Duke volleyball player, who the week before was in some kind of DEI training session that Duke was paying for. And the DEI training session was from some company that would come in and tell you how to help identify and spot racism. And so this little girl sits in some DEI training and they get to, hey, this is racism, that's racism, here's how you identify it, here's how you spot it. And so the Duke team goes out to Brigham Young and the student section is cheering for Brigham Young. And 1 week after sitting through these training sessions on how to identify racism, Rachel Richardson gets on the phone with her auntie and says, oh yeah, I was treated poorly at Brigham Young. They yelled things at me. And then the auntie who wasn't at Brigham Young, who wasn't at the volleyball match, who just had a conversation with her niece, and the auntie who's a left-wing political operative with a history of claiming racism, she goes on Twitter and says, Brigham Young fans called my daughter the N-word, or my niece the N-word. And the next thing you know, Stephen A. Smith is on national TV. We got you, baby girl. We got your back. Brigham Young's got to answer for this. Someone called you the N-word. Next thing you know, Don Staley, the basketball coach at South Carolina, not the volleyball coach at South Carolina, no connection to BYU or Duke. Don Staley cancels a basketball game, a future basketball game against Brigham Young because she says, my players won't feel safe at BYU. I'm gonna just tell you why I think Toni Harris is so important. I'm just gonna repeat again. We've set a standard that if they say it about a woman, facts don't matter. It's just true. And you have to accept it in the name of wokeness. And so Don Staley makes the argument, I can't take my basketball team to BYU because they won't feel safe. It's not safe there. There's not one bit of history. Has there been a black female athlete that competed at BYU and was assaulted, kidnapped, raped, harmed in any way? Is there a clear pattern of BYU students shouting the N-word? They got black athletes at BYU. They got black students at BYU. They got cell phones and cameras everywhere inside these arenas now. And there's no proof that anyone shouted the N-word at this Rachel Richardson. There's no history of this. But Don Staley further smears BYU in their student body section, but, well, it's too unsafe for us to play there. And I asked the question in real time, will you play at Memphis? Because I believe Memphis was on their schedule. Will you play there? Because I can give you a whole bunch of statistics on the type of violence, criminal behavior that happens to black women in Memphis. And I can show you the stats in Utah and the difference. And I know not many black people live in Utah, but if there's no propensity to violence towards black women in Utah, and I can show you plenty of statistical proof that, oh, they're more unsafe at Memphis, but you'll play there, but you won't play at BYU. The woke mind virus that Elon talks about, holy cow, it had taken over sports. It had taken over sports to such a level that this next one that I'm going to mention, I do kind of think it's the biggest example of the woke sports era. It's Brittney Griner. Brittney Griner is a 6'8" lesbian woman, tatted up from head to toe, that plays in the WNBA. She traveled to Russia and tried to sneak a little hashish, weed of some sort, through customs in Russia and got arrested. And they locked her up, allegedly, and I say that seriously because this story is so preposterous, it's hard for me to fully believe. But they locked her up for several months in Russia for her irresponsible behavior. And the woke sports mind virus was so strong that the President of the United States, Joe Biden, and his administration prioritized getting a 6'8" lesbian out of prison over getting Paul Whelan and servicemen and others, Americans, military people, journalists. We prioritized Brittney Griner, a basketball player, tatted head to toe, lesbian who did something completely irresponsible. She's in a foreign country. We had to get her home before people, and keep in mind, Brittney Griner is one of these kneelers, no respect for the national anthem. She's on record with all of this. But we traded the merchant of death, a gun dealer, a terrorist who works on behalf of the Russian government. We traded him for Brittney Griner. Can it get any woker than that? That this black lesbian basketball player, we surrender and set free an arms dealer, a terrorist, man with the nickname, the Merchant of Death, so that Brittney Griner could come back here and play basketball. Unbelievable. There's nothing woker than that. It's the dumbest thing I've ever seen in my lifetime. It's the worst trade in the history of American sports. This woman had spent years denigrating the United States of America, being ungrateful for her citizenship, and the moment she does something stupid and gets locked up overseas, now all of a sudden she's found her patriotism. And now all of a sudden, because our priorities are so out of whack, and Vladimir Putin knows it, that we're dumb enough to trade the merchant of death. I sit here and I think about this, and it's like, remember Trump's a Russian agent. Trump's a Russian agent. Why wouldn't we argue? Why wouldn't we be suspicious of, is Brittney Griner a Russian agent? Was she part of a plot that Russia executed to get the merchant of death free? That's how woke sports had gotten. That's how stupid America was. That we allowed someone who had expressed animus towards America to be a tool to get a Russian asset terrorist out of prison. Trump's the Russian agent? Why wouldn't we think Brittney Griner is the Russian agent? Why wouldn't we think Joe Biden is the Russian agent? We traded a dumb jock for a terrorist. When Steve comes on, we'll try to rank these or try to figure out what's this right here, Brittney Griner, has to take the cake. It's an unbelievable story. If you put it in a movie, no one would believe it. Oh, this is a Disney movie. This is make-believe. No one would trade a basketball player for the merchant of death. No one would trade someone who hates America for the merchant of death. We did that. There's one other candidate for the top spot, and I'll get to it here in a second, but this is another one that I just remember, because remember, we did the song Reclaim the Rainbow because of this. Remember the LA Dodgers Pride Night in 2023? The Perpetual Sisters or whatever, they mocked the Catholic religion on Dodgers Pride Night in 2023. These Satanist, LGBTQ people dressed up in drag, mocking the Catholic faith. The Dodgers centered them on Pride Night. Unbelievable. I don't know if it could get any more woke than that. The openly hostile drag queens mocking the Catholic faith and the LA Dodgers centering them on Pride Night. Triggering in me like, man, we got to write a song, and I reach out to Bryson Gray and Shamika Michelle. They write a tremendous song. Justin, while I'm finishing this up, see if you can find Reclaim the Rainbow, and we'll play it at the end of this before we get to Steve Kim. Just want to remember, because it did lead to something good, I will say that. Because this song ended up hitting #1 on the Apple charts. I listened to it this morning when I was working out. It's an incredible song. Bryson, Shamika, Jimmy, why can't I think of Jimmy's last name? Jimmy Levy, I believe, did the chorus, the hook. It's an incredible song. But here's the last thing, which is a candidate for the #1 wokest thing in the whole woke sports era. The opening ceremony of this past Olympics, July 26, 2024. They mocked the Last Supper. The Alphabet Mafia crew mocked the Last Supper. You remember, and tried to deny it, but had to admit it. The Olympics, they're the biggest event in all of sports. The whole world comes together. It's the biggest stage the world has to offer. And the woke mind virus provoked and justified and caused the Olympics to mock Jesus Christ in its opening ceremony. This morning when we were debating this and people were saying, I think this is the worst thing. It's hard to argue. The only other candidates to me are the Brittney Griner trade, Toni Harris for me, personal, and just it's related to football, and I think it set into motion a bunch of this other stuff, but I just don't. On the world's biggest stage, we centered Satanism. It's unbelievable. But it's all coming to an end. And that's why I'm thankful. I think this whole Redskins deal, logo coming back, it's like this thing is over. I look at the National Football League now. Most teams, it seems like, have removed the end racism slogan from the end zone. Some of you won't understand. What do you mean? Ending racism is a good thing. Well, it's a slogan. It won't have any impact on ending race. Stop hate, these sloganeering and all that. It all needs to come to an end. You're not going to do it with slogans. Let fans go back to holding up signs that say John 3:16. Do that. That's the proper messaging at a football game. The league, with all this Marxist sloganeering, end it. That's where I hope this whole thing with the Redskins and the Commanders and the reestablishment of the Redskins logo, I hope that's where it goes, that the NFL snaps out of it. Let's quit shoehorning women into officiating roles. Let's quit shoehorning women into coaching roles in football. Let's go back to reality. But that's what I'm thankful for, the end of the woke era in sports?
That's a lot right there.
Yeah, that's what.
Stone Age, Bronze Age, Iron Age, Classical era, Medieval era, early modern, modern era, woke era. Done.
What's the worst of all those, in your view?
I'm not real schooled on the. I think the woke era.
No. Of the examples of the woke, yeah.
I think the Olympics just was a time where none of that needed to be involved at all.
You're probably right. What's number 2 then?
What do you think's number 2?
Brittney Griner.
What's your number? What is your number 1? The Olympics. Well, the Brittney thing to me, have you seen how much she's changed since all of that? I mean,
how much she's pretended to change?
It seems to be, yeah.
Yeah, how much she's pretended to change, I have, but I just can't think of anything dumber than what we did for Brittney Griner. She doesn't like America. America bent over backwards for her. I honestly think she may be a Russian agent, and I say that in all seriousness. Putin couldn't have come up with a better scam. Hey, let's find a lesbian woman to lock up with a little bit of profile, and we'll spring the merchant of death with her. Brittney Griner cooperated, in my view. Anyway, we'll bring on Steve Kim. Hopefully we'll play Reclaim the Rainbow as we come out of this break. But before we do any of that, guys, I want to talk to you about our great friends at Preborn. You guys know that part of our mission here at Fearless is to support the biblical view that life begins at conception. No organization does a better job of that than Preborn. Preborn provides expectant mothers an ultrasound, introduces that baby's heartbeat and image to the mother. Now she's twice as likely to choose life, and now Preborn steps up and supports that woman through the pregnancy and the early years of that child's development. Preborn is an amazing organization. An ultrasound costs $28. 5 ultrasounds cost $140. We don't care what you give something. Right now, we're looking for leadership gifts, though. You can give $5, you can give $10, you can give $28, you can give $140, but we're looking for leadership givers. That's $5,000. It supports 24 hours of Preborn's business. It supports the entire network for 24 hours. It helps them save 200 babies during that 24-hour period. If you can afford a leadership gift, we beg you to give it. If you can't afford to give a leadership gift, just give $28. Pound 250, say the keyword baby. That's pound 250, keyword baby. Or go to preborn.com/fearless. That's preborn.com/fearless. Steve Kim, next.
The Dodgers have reversed course again. The team was criticized for inviting a specific group to Pride Night at Dodger Stadium, then criticized again for uninviting them.
A short time ago, the team announced it was re-inviting them.
모두 다 빨리 박수 쳐 기다리지 말고 서둘러 Reason that I'm back is to feed you raps I see that you are 배불러 So fly
All right, welcome back. Steve Kim joining us from Los Angeles. Steve, when we were coming up with this list, I kept thinking of you and was going, if I forget something, Steve will remember it. But Steve, what do you think of my list of the... Oh, Steve disconnected. Holy cow.
Just like that? Did he get scared?
That's wild. This seems so interesting. We keep having these problems with Steve. Steve, what do you think of my list? Yeah, I don't hear Steve. Yeah, my mic is working, but I don't hear Steve.
We need a signer.
Yeah.
Can you hear me now?
This seems so... I do hear you now. Go ahead.
Yeah, Jason, so first of all, good Wednesday to everybody. Yeah, I agree with much of the list. I actually think you had a few omissions that need to be placed upon that gathering of wokeness. Number one, the whole U.S. women's soccer team for the past 15 years, led by that purple-haired lesbian that hates America, Rapinoe. Just everything they did. It's not just one incident. It's every incident. Just what they stand for, their political stances, and some of their actions. So that right there. Number two, I don't know how you left this one out. And again, this is one of my guys that I do respect, but geez, it was cringeworthy to the 10th degree. Kirk Herbstreit crying on that national conference call. Remember they had those panelists and he talked about, you shouldn't get shot because you wear a hoodie. And then you have Maria Taylor looking at him. And it's almost like he was saying, hey, look at this white guilt I'm exhibiting here. Like I'm down with the cause. I'm an ally. And Maria's kind of looking at him like, no, I need more white guilt. That's not enough. And then the other one, and I think this is related to the whole Jacob Blake thing and the Milwaukee Bucks. Kenny Smith walking off set of Inside the NBA because he couldn't be burdened by doing his job and talking about basketball while everything is going on. So he made this like theatrical like exit stage left, and I'm thinking, okay, what does that do though? It's almost like he's saying, look, as I go back to my gated community, driving my Escalade in my 3-story mansion, I'm thinking of you people that I wouldn't want to live anywhere near or by. So those are the three that I would add. But Jason, I had completely forgotten about the St. Louis Rams doing the hands up, don't shoot thing. And you know what, Jason? This may surprise you. I actually didn't mind that for one reason. They made a statement. It was relatively quick, and they moved on. I actually thought, you know what? That's fine. You have something to say, get it off your chest, and play the game.
They're not investigators. They're not cops. They didn't know what happened there, and they ended up being proven wrong. I mean,
outside
they're promoting a lie.
But outside of that,
what do you think the worst moment in woke sports? What do you think the worst example was? Yeah, Steve's frozen. I thought he was thinking, but he's frozen.
We talked about that, but let me ask you, do you think that with this woke era ending, do you think this will be a return? I'm a casualty of the woke era. I moved away from sports and the passion that I had for it. Do you think you'll see people coming back, or do you think that this era is going to be costing sports and viewership moving forward?
That's a great question, because I'm someone that doesn't watch near as much as I used to. And a lot of that has to do with I lost a lot of respect for the athletes. That these are people that should be the most grateful people in America. They're not offering anything of value to America. They're offering entertainment, and they're getting paid millions of dollars, and they're getting the ability to take care of their family and do things for their family that they wouldn't normally be able to do. And to see them express this much stupidity and disloyalty towards America bothered me. But as we move into this new era where I'm seeing a lot of athletes express their faith and lean into that, it's making me warm back up to them. And clearly, as much as I've jumped on board with Caitlin Clark and the WNBA, I'm open to new ideas. But yeah, I think there's a lot of people that won't ever hop back on board. And just the whole, because once you start thinking about it, and you eventually get to we're paying these guys what? Yeah. I really don't care what their politics are. It just makes no sense that we're paying guys $40 and $50 million for dunking a basketball or throwing a football. The whole thing just doesn't add up to me. But Steve, welcome back. Go ahead and finish your thought.
Jason, another thing that really perturbed me, and I thought it was the worst virtue signaling out of all of this, is when teams would then say, well, something that happened 3,000 miles from us that didn't really impact us individually or tangibly, we're not going to practice. It's just so heavy on training camp, we're off. And I think I've told you this before, but the year that they did the Hard Knocks on HBO, it was the Rams and the Chargers. They did both teams in LA. And Anthony Lynn had a conference call with about 40 of his guys because everything was spacing because of the COVID and the restrictions. And he told his players, one of the most
we're going to give up on Steve.
Are you grateful for Zoom this turkey season?
I'm not sure. I'm disappointed that we haven't come up with a final solution for that, even though we've been talking about it for a long time. And so, wow, we're going to have to come up with a solution, or we're going to have some real problems here. We're going to, is Shamika, hopefully you're ready. We'll come to you early. We'll take a break, find out what was popping with you guys in the chat. We'll wrap up our final show before Thanksgiving. Next. Offensive line issues are going to undermine this team, and that is the problem with the Chiefs more so than anything else.
They're gonna win 5 of their last 6 games. Andy Reid, your coach of the year. They're gonna win 5 of 6 games. Andy Reid, even if they win 4 of their last games.
What is trolling me?
Andy Reid, coach of the year. What they've been able to do this year is I think it's going underrated and underappreciated. And I think it's the same way LeBron doesn't win the MVP all the time because I feel like Andy Reid is.
He's trolling me. He just brought LeBron into this. He just compared Andy Reid to LeBron James. He's trolling me. Get the butter box out. You're done, Butter.
You gotta give this guy his
just
props.
Compared Andy Reid to LeBron James. That is a troll job.
HOC.
Cut the mic. He compared Andy Reid to LeBron James.
Well, they both have a little form of nepotism. Aren't Reid on the coaching staff? I mean, there are some. Here, to Butter's point, I don't completely disagree in this sense.
Make it for him, because we will not hear Butter's voice the rest of this show. Go ahead and make it for him, Steve.
14-2, and I get it. They're the Super Bowl defending champions, whatever that means. But if you go 14-2 with this particular team and you get the best shot every week, I don't completely disagree. I know it's about expectations and overcoming them or exceeding them.
All right, welcome back. Shamika, tell us what was popping in the chats other than my blood pressure.
Mine too, because you have some people, Jason, they come on every day just to complain. No matter what you talk about, they have a complaint. If you talk about Dion, they have a complaint. If you talk about Caitlin, they have a complaint. Today it was, you're talking about stuff 3 to 4 years old. So that was the complaint today, yet they show up faithfully every single day. I just want you to know it's the same people, but they come every day.
Well, I'm trying to figure out, I'm talking about this whole thing with the Redskins and the reestablishment of their logo, and I'm reminiscing about the significance of this rollback and what it means for sports and the end of the woke era. And I just walked you through and look, maybe there's embarrassment because these guys are all saying, man, I supported that. I supported that. I supported that. And maybe they're embarrassed by it. I'm sitting here being honest, like, I came up with the whole idea for the Miami Heat to wear the hoodie. I gave up real money in support of the Michael Brown hoax. There's nothing wrong with being wrong. People have a real problem with admitting when they're wrong and I guess being reminded when they're wrong. But yeah, the woke era was stupid. And I'm glad we took some time to remember it and wish it farewell and be thankful that it's over. But anyway, give me some specific chats.
All right, I'm going to start with my favorite of the day. Mel TV Live says the name Shamika stands for beauty, strength, and meritocracy. I just wanted to let you know that, Jason.
You know, I might have to look through the chats myself because I think Shamika just fishes for the stuff.
She's got burner accounts.
Yeah,
She's
yeah.
doing it herself.
What else is popping?
Brian Chance said, you should be supporting another Black man doing well in a high-level coaching job. Had a crime to be proud. I think maybe he says, is it a crime to be proud of your fellow brother?
Yeah, there is no, I guess he's talking about Deion Sanders. Pride is always a sin, and there is no form of good pride. And, you know, trouble comes before, pride. Pride's not good. I'm a little bit off my game, but there is no good form of pride. I've been on the record about that for a long time. Next.
It's pride cometh before destruction, a haughty spirit before the fall. Yes.
Thank you.
Bob M says, you and Jason got to do an extra fearless on these woke celebrity baby mamas and the crazy stuff they've done to their own children.
What's he talking about there? What's the details? He's talking about Megan. Who did something crazy to their kids recently?
I think maybe Charlize Theron may be one, but some of them, they adopt these boys and then start allowing them to dress as little girls. Like there's several of them out there that do that. They get these kids from who knows where, but then they turn them into gender dysphoric freaks, to be nice.
Next.
Taco the Great says, the youth football team in my city never changed their name from the Redskins, and the founder is Native.
Oh, wow. Good for him. That's great. The second team I think I played for was the Redskins. My first team was the Cowboys. We won the Super Bowl when I was in 4th grade. And then in 5th grade, I played for the Redskins. That was a great helmet. And then in 6th grade, I played on a terrible team. I don't think we won a game. I was the Bengals. Helmets matter.
Not much has changed.
Yeah, helmets matter. Next.
The SB says Doc Rivers is the most overrated coach ever. Dude keeps getting more for less and less.
Cannot disagree with that. He had that one good year with the Boston Celtics, or maybe it was 2 good years. I can't remember. But cannot disagree. He had a super team with Kevin Garnett, Paul Pierce, and Ray Allen. Got one title out of it. Tom Thibodeau was probably the star coach on that. Yeah, Doc Rivers, not a good coach. Next.
So lastly, Jason, there was an argument in the chat about reparations. And I know this is your favorite topic, so I wanted to give you an opportunity to chime in. I will say, low-key Joker shut it down a bit when he told someone, go to Africa and get reparations from the people who sold you into slavery. Your thoughts?
Totally agree. Again, every group, every ethnic group has been a slave at one point. The whole reparations movement is a gimmick. It's a mindset of entitlement. We're not entitled to anything. We should be leaning into gratitude at all times. We've been lied to and told that the world owes us something. The world doesn't owe us something. As long as you got your hand out looking for the world to repay you for some suffering that someone else experienced that you didn't, you're not going to be successful in life. It's the wrong mentality. Shamika, let me ask you this before you go. What are you cooking for Thanksgiving, and are you going to do it all for less than $58?
I'm doing sides, Jason, but when I saw that article, that was the most ridiculous thing I have ever seen. And it is a prime example as why the mainstream media, they're failing. As of a few days ago, we had 37 people confirmed for Thanksgiving. I'm responsible for the mac and cheese, dressing, Caribbean cabbage, and cranberry sauce. My daughter has already baked the apple cake, and she also has to do a pound cake. Those are our contributions for the dinner, and it was well over $58.
That's what I was gonna say. I know it's 37 people, but just your side dishes, that's gonna be more than $58.
Exactly. So I don't know what these people are talking about, but they think we're stupid.
Shamika, I just got to know, because cooking with butter right here has to know, what is Caribbean cabbage?
So it's just
Is it like a collard green?
No, it's still cabbage, but I make it in the wok, and you add peppers and onions and some different spices to it. So it's really good. It's just more fried than when they put it in the pot and boil it till it's, a pulp. So it's more on the fried end a little bit.
Shamika, have a great Thanksgiving. Don't overeat. And hopefully save your pennies and don't spend too much money. Did you just do the Jay-Z occult?
No, I got.
What are you trying to do?
I got my gloves on. It says Happy Thanksgiving.
That's what that is?
I'm wishing everybody Happy Thanksgiving.
Larry Johnson's gonna see this video and say, look at Whitlock. He got his guy over there doing secret hand signals, and he's gonna do the numerology on it.
I'll do this. I'll thumbs up it.
Man, this
no
dude,
controversy here.
He just gave the one-eyed. I don't even like doing it. I'm sorry.
That's my gloves on.
An image of me out there, and then next thing you know, Butter will be like, Butter, cut it out. Anyway, happy Thanksgiving. We'll play tomorrow. We'll have some content out over the weekend, but full show won't be back until next week. See you.
Freedom. Came like a fighter, striking like a ladder, making all these moves for freedom. I want freedom. No negotiation, my sister, no relation. We all just wanna have freedom. Sitting on a corner, never been alone. I'll break my back for freedom. Blessed, we are living, get back. We are receiving, no deceiving. We all wanna be free. We want